Okay. Right. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's make a start and people can keep joining us as they go. So I'm Julie Robinson, the founder of MenoHealth, and joining me today, we've got Beth Rees here from MenoHealth. Give us a wave, Beth. And Ali Shemwell. Hi, Ali.
Hi.
And we're going to be running your session today. So the idea is to just give you a taster, not just how what we talk about in a MenoHealth session, but very much about the feel of it, because that's what's unique about MenoHealth. It isn't just about information and lectures. You can Google that. It's about how we get you comfortable talking about menopause in the workplace and what you can do to help yourselves and improve your working environment while you go through menopause. So I began MenoHealth because, well, I wish I could turn back the clock, don't we all? I wish I had known then what I know now when I had a hysterectomy at the age of 36 and I didn't get the right information or education or support that I needed. And that has had an impact on me and my health now and for the future. So, it's really, really important, I feel, that we make sure we get the information that is going to help us on our unique journey. So let me just introduce you to Ali, and she'll tell you why she's involved with MenoHealth.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, it was great to be here today. So hello to everybody. So my personal journey with menopause is I had a hysterectomy at 32, kept my ovaries, and then was told that at some point, probably a bit earlier than normal, I'll have some sort of menopause symptoms. That's all I got. Nothing else, no more help. So it's just felt like a journey in the dark, really, never knowing quite what's going on. As part of my work at HSBC, I looked after the menopause campaign, and as part of that, we brought you in, Julie, to help do the MenoHealth sessions, and they landed so well. And just week after week, people were just, it was the half an hour they never cancelled in their diary, but they just loved the experience of learning a little bit more, knowing they're not on their own, just sharing some ideas and thoughts, bit of exercise. I'm not sure we all love the all exercise week, but yeah, some of us did. But I still get people now messaging me about things that they're doing. And so when I left HSBC, I just said, you know what, I really want to make my day job where I'm helping people really take control of their menopause, really own it, and just give that positive experience. So I absolutely love delivering these sessions, and it makes such a difference. And the messages in the chat box are always so positive. But yeah, so that's me very briefly. So back to you, Julie.
Thanks, Ali. And absolutely, this is really where it all began, because we were originally running Meno classes out in the community. And of course, with the first lockdown, we had to go online, but we were already delivering these sessions for HSBC, and it's helped us to refine what people need, what's good for the company, the organisation, very importantly, what's good for you. And that's how it's all about. It's all about making sure that you get the right information. So the MenoHealth at Work programme is 10 sessions that includes a different topic each week, and we'll talk and give you information that's very practical so that you know which direction you want to go in on your menopause journey. We're not here to advise or prescribe or sit in judgment. It's a safe place, and it's very much about that welcoming atmosphere that makes all the difference, so you know you're not alone. And so if you're looking at this for your business, organisation, company, and I know many of you are here today from NHS trusts, it's what can we do to help you in your situation to make life better. So today we're having a whistle-stop tour. We're going to just briefly touch on what is menopause, what are the main symptoms, how is it diagnosed, and then we'll do a very short little exercise session. It's no lycra, no sweating. It's very much about just getting moving to help you relax and revitalise, and I'll be explaining why that's so important when we want to help you take control of menopause. and we'll finish with your questions. And of course, we'll follow up with an email to share any of the signposting links. So here we go. Well, first of all, what is menopause? You think everybody would know this, and I'm sure all of you do. However, it's very apparent when we do our calls that this is something that is still an absolute shocker to so many people, and they aren't expecting it. We always perceive that menopause is going to happen when we're much, much older. And of course, it's the years leading up to that when the symptoms begin. So on average, 51 is the age that most people hit menopause, unless, like me and Ali, they've had an early menopause. And there's lots of other reasons for that as well. But we can only actually tell that we're in menopause when we've gone a whole year, 12 months from our last period. So it's really only looking back and then being able to know in retrospect. But in our 40s and sometimes our 30s, this is when symptoms start to begin. And it's the perimenopause that can last 2 to 6 years, for some 10 years. And this is when you start to think there's something wrong with you. And there's all sorts of changes that you just don't know why, and you can't put your finger on it. We obviously know that early menopause is different, and that could be through surgery, or it could be PCOS. So this is POI, premature ovarian insufficiency. We're going to focus today, we'll give you a link on the support doc afterwards, about the DAISY network for anyone who needs specific help with earlier menopause. Let's focus on usual menopause symptoms that go. So we're going to first of all start with the big question: how is it diagnosed, Ali?
Oh my word, Julie, we are asked that so many times, aren't we?
Yes.
So if you're under the age of 45 and you're experiencing some of the symptoms, and we'll talk through some of those in a little while, then your GP can actually do a blood test. And what it measures is the follicle stimulating hormone, or you'll often hear it referred to as FSH. So that's responsible for regulating the levels of estrogen in our body. And they'll repeat that perhaps 4 to 6 weeks later, and they'll just see where that level is. That's great if you're under 45. If you're over 45, it's much more difficult to diagnose through blood tests. The estrogen levels are varying so rapidly that actually you can have a blood test in the morning, and probably by the evening the levels will have changed again. So actually blood tests aren't really the way to go. What they will do though is they'll look at the symptoms that you're experiencing, and from those they'll be able to do that diagnosis. So that tracking of symptoms is super important, and we've got a document to support you with that. So if you're thinking, oh, that might be me, how do I do that, we'll be able to help you. So those symptoms of menopause, well, there are so many, and generally there's thought to be over 30. You'll hear some people say 34 is that magic number. Some people probably feel like they've got about 334, and it comes every day, to be honest, because they are so difficult. 75% of menopausal women do suffer with the symptoms, and a third of those often describe them as being severe. They feel like their whole life has been taken over by menopause. So I'm just going to talk through the vasomotor ones. So they're the ones that regulate the temperature. And often if you said to somebody the word menopause, the first thing they'll say is hot flashes. And it's very common, obviously. 3 out of 4 women can have that hot flash moment, or hot flashes sometimes they're called. For some it lasts just a few seconds, and for some it can be a few minutes. There are some triggers, and this is not to say stop having all of these, but they might just want to see if you can connect the dots. So coffee, smoking, certain foods, and alcohol can sometimes just increase those symptoms and make them uncomfortable. And for some, they can actually be quite debilitating and make them feel really quite dizzy and almost having palpitations. And you start to think, what on earth is going on? What's happening to me? How, what do I do with all of this? And it can be quite scary, but actually having these awareness sessions will just say, yeah, do you know what? I heard that the other day, and actually that is me, but I'm going to do something about it. And the other thing that happens with that heat part is often at night, and they can be super disruptive. and several times through the night you may have those really big night sweats. I had a friend who actually had about 4 sets of bedding because she had to change the bed at least once a night, turfed her husband out, changed the bed, had a shower, got back in. You know, it can be really disruptive, and it upsets your sleep, which, you know, again is not great for your energy, your mood levels, and your ability to work. So I don't know, Julie, have you had any of those experiences?
Yes, indeed. I think for myself, the palpitations was they were awful. I ended up in A&E and spent a night in hospital. They kept thinking that the ECG machines were broken. 3 different ones were tried, and I was thinking I am having a heart attack at this point. After long, prolonged investigations, it was a consultant who just happened to say, "Oh yes, this is quite common in menopausal women." I was like, why didn't I know about this? So yeah, it isn't just about feeling hot. It can be quite debilitating. And particularly if you're in a working place where you're having to wear certain uniforms. And I know, for example, at HSBC, you did a lot of work on improving the materials, the cut and the style of a uniform too, didn't you?
Absolutely, yeah, because it's so important that you spend so long at work, don't you? If you're not comfortable in those clothes, and you've still got to do your day job, then you know it really needs to be made much easier for people. So, but I think, you know, that understanding, that layering, understanding the materials that are good for you, whether it be that you wear a uniform or actually just your normal day work, you know, day wear, you want to be comfortable, don't you? Because when that moment comes, you do feel like the whole world can see that you're hot, even though actually, if you looked in the mirror often, there are no obvious symptoms, you know, visible symptoms, but yeah, you feel like the whole world knows
Yeah.
you're having one of those tropical moments unless you get your fan out.
Exactly. And I think working from home has been a godsend for many, because instead of having that bit of a or self-consciousness about I'm going red from my toes up to the top of my head, and you're opening a window or you've got the fan on and then everyone else is freezing cold. If you're working from home, you can be stripping off and putting clothes back on, you know, so it is a great thing for many, but not all of us can work from home, and a lot of people are need to be talking about what reasonable adjustments should be made in the workplace to accommodate for this and other things. So hormonal symptoms, that's the next category. So this is with estrogen withdrawal. So we're now looking at irregular periods. This is often the first sign that things are going a little bit off piste, when you're thinking, well, I've gone much longer, or they're much closer together, or they're lighter, or more often more heavy. So there's lots of changes with your periods. But the urinary symptoms and vaginal dryness or vaginal atrophy and loss of libido are all to do with this loss of estrogen. I mean, it's in every cell in our body. It affects everything. That's why it's so far-reaching with these symptoms. But these are often the symptoms you probably don't want to talk about. We've heard so many times that from our calls and these video calls that we're doing with different organisations, that people aren't even telling their partner or their best friend because they feel a bit embarrassed about it. And we shouldn't need to. This is one of those Zooms. Yes, you can talk about vaginal dryness in a safe place. It has a big impact on you and your health. So as this estrogen starts to dip, it will change the tissues in the vagina and the bladder so that they're less elastic, they're less resilient. And also even the acid alkali balance goes out of kilter, so that you start to get more urinary tract infections. And we all know how horrible those can be. There are so many simple solutions. You need not suffer in silence. You are not alone. This is so common. For example, from your doctor, Vagifem pessaries, tiny little things like the size of 2 grains of rice, twice a week. The whole of that year, they're a vaginal pessary that delivers estrogen transdermally inside in the skin, so it's absorbed, it's not going like a tablet. And it's such a low dose of estrogen, it's the equivalent of just 1 to 2 tablets of HRT. But just think that that little thing is going to completely transform how you feel, and that can definitely help when it comes to having problems with sexual intercourse as well. That can affect your relationship. So you can see how all of these things are tied in together, but there are solutions. This isn't doom and gloom. This is, well, okay, I've got this one. What can I do about it? So let's have a look at the physical changes. Back to you, Ali.
Thanks, Julie. So yeah, those physical changes that come along, and the first one I think that is probably the one we hear most about is those joint and muscle aches and pains. So you suddenly feel like you've gone from being quite fit and active to suddenly feeling like you get out of bed some mornings and think, my word, I feel like 80 plus. I just feel like I can't move, everything's stiff. Again, it's that change in those estrogen levels that helps lubricate the joints. So as that dips, you start to feel this aches and pains, you know, and you feel like, am I word, if I got severe arthritis, what's happening with me? But actually, it is just those changing hormones. So we sometimes sort of say, actually, you know, get some exercise, get some movement. You think, actually, there's too much pain. I really can't do that. But what we do with the MenoHealth sessions is just introduce that light exercise, that's a little bit of stretching, that little few things you can do just when the kettle's boiling. I mean, I love the one you do. I do it every day now, Julie, my little press ups at the kettle. But just little things that just keep those things moving. So we're not asking you to go and run a marathon. We're just going to give you some gentle exercises. But actually, although you might not feel like it, the more you do that, the more you keep those joints moving. The other physical things that people often will talk to us about is that they've gone never having migraines before. All of a sudden, they've got migraines and headaches. And again, there's a bit of that fear factor there, isn't there? There's a bit of that, oh my word, what's happening in my head? Because I've got this pain that I've just never had before. And again, it's just those fluctuating hormones that you've not experienced previously. And all of a sudden, they're so erratic that it has an effect on headaches. And sometimes people then have migraines where they've never had them before. And the other thing that we often hear is that whole, I'm just so tired. I do feel old because I feel tired. And some of that's that disruption of the night sweats that, you know, that I've talked about previously. And it, you know, sometimes it's that you're waking up early, on that anxiety piece, you know, you go to bed, there's things on your mind, you get anxious, then you wake up and then you can't get back to sleep, and it just goes into that sort of permanent cycle of just, yeah, actually, do you know what, I just would like a whole night's sleep. So if anybody's ever had children and they did that whole waking up in the middle of the night with the children, you probably lost that for years ago, and all of a sudden you feel like you're back in that zone, except that you're a little bit older and it's not so great. And dry skin, you know, I think we always sort of feel like, what's happening, you know, my skin looks maybe not as fresh as it did, I can see the wrinkles come in. Again, those estrogen levels changing. The estrogen helps the production of collagen, and that's the thing that actually supports the skin structure. So it's that protein that's in there. So, you know, there's often age is associated with that drier, more sort of wrinkly skin. And it's just having a look to make sure that you have the right skincare for where you are, and make sure again that you look at your diet and make sure that you're drinking enough water and fluids. And other people will talk about this really strange sensation that they've actually got things crawling under their skin and they're almost scratching them to almost to sort of take this layer of skin away. And again, that's just that change in hormone levels can really have that uncomfortable effect. And it might be one of those things you just think, I don't want to actually say this to anybody because it sounds really bizarre and they might think I've gone a little bit mad, but actually it's really common. So don't sit there thinking, oh, I don't want to talk to anybody about this. Talk about it, because you'll be amazed how many people say, actually, do you know what, I've got that as well. And this is what I did, or this is who I spoke to. And it really supports, you really support each other. And the other thing we have is we've got hair loss on here, but I think the hair loss thing, I know it's a whole topic, I know, but we get like hair loss, you know, and sometimes, you know, you are again just sort of brushing your hair and you think, oh, that's a bit more coming out than I would have liked. Your hair might not seem as glossy. You're having one of those bad hair days, except that you feel like it's every day almost. And that affects our confidence. And, you know, it can make you just feel a little bit uncomfortable. We always say that obviously you need to think about your overall health and well-being, make sure that your nutrition's good, your exercise is there, you try to reduce your stress levels, and also the adverse to hair loss is we sometimes we just get hair where we don't want it, but that's a whole nother topic. So I'll leave that one there, and I'll come back to you then, Julie, for some physical and social symptoms. Don't know whether Julie's internet is a little bit down, a bit weak. Maybe, are you with us, Julie?
Absolutely. So that was something. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Am I back?
You are back.
Okay. It says I'm unstable, and how does it know I am?
Knows you nearly as well as we do, Julie.
Okay, so yes, insomnia is a really awful symptom to have, and I didn't put that down to menopause at all. I really did just think that was me, and it would be going to sleep, waking up in the middle of the night and being awake for hours and just dropping off when the alarm's going off at 6 in the morning. It's a nightmare. So lots of things that I wish I'd known then, what I know now, and ways I could help myself. So we're looking at the psychological symptoms now. When we did a survey with the MenoHealth community, we were really surprised to see what the most common symptoms were. And it wasn't the hot flushes, which we all expect. It was very much about how it makes you feel and your mental health and well-being. So the emotional effects are absolutely huge. You can feel rage and you suddenly feel angry with everybody. You can feel tearful and you can feel low in your mood. You just feel so stressed and anxious about everything. And this is where you get this sense of being out of control. You know, our strapline is take control of menopause. And that's really what it's all about, finding some self-help ways of being able to take back that control. Now, we know HRT is one of the ways that we can put the estrogen back. Not everybody can take it or wants to. And we're just trying to find ways that you can help yourself reduce your stress and get back in charge of feeling yourself again. So you've got your mood swings. Now, if you had PMS, premenstrual syndrome, with your periods, you are more likely to have those mood swings around menopause as well. And one of the worst aspects, if you are at work, is brain fog, this loss of memory that often feels like you're getting dementia. And it can be really frightening. And people suddenly think, I can't do this job anymore. I'm in a meeting that I have done presentations for the last 20, 30 years, and I've been fine. And now I just want to burst into tears and run out the room. It's like you're a teenager and you just can't control it. It's a horrible feeling. So again, this is all about understanding what's happening to your body, not being frightened about it, but being prepared and finding ways of helping you, but also creating a culture in your workplace where it's okay to say, I've got brain fog today, sorry, just give me a moment. This is why it impacts on your loss of confidence, where you just don't feel yourself anymore. And this is why it's been estimated that around 1 million women have left their jobs because of their menopause symptoms, just through lack of understanding and support in the workplace. And that's what we really want to change. So we're going to follow up this session with some information, such as the guidelines from NICE, that's looking at your best practice in terms of what you should be expecting from your doctor in your menopause journey. And we know not everybody gets to see a doctor who really understands menopause. So we want to make sure that we're looking at ways that you can improve your conversation with your GP. So, Ali, what do you think is one of the best things to come out of doing these support sessions in the workplace, in your experience?
So for mine, I think the one key message that I had from virtually everybody that ever came was that all of a sudden they realised they weren't on their own. And the fact that we were talking about these things at work during the work day, just empowered them, I think, to have better conversations, both at work, at home, with their GP. I mean, I think the one message that I got that, but you know, sort of really touched my heart and made me emotional was when a lady said, you know, I've been coming for a few weeks and now I've really got that confidence. I've been to my GP and I've got some really great support. And she just put, you've actually changed my life. And I just was like, oh my word, that was just so powerful. But that was what it was. It was just that whole thing that you can sometimes really feel so lonely with your menopause symptoms. And then you come to work and you put the smile on and you know, you try to do your best. But like you say, you have those brain fog moments, you lost a bit of confidence, you don't feel you look great, you know, all of those things just, you know, come day in day out, and you're still trying to do a really good job and you feel like you're up against the younger ones, and I don't know, it just feels like a whole turmoil. And people just said, you know, it's so great to be able to just have half an hour when I can be myself, I can say how I feel, no one's going to judge me, people are going to say, yeah, that's me, I've got that, you know, that's how I am. It just made such a difference, and it was just the most powerful thing that we did. And to be honest, now doing this with you for the last 7 months, it's just been tenfold, those messages, just listening to people saying thank you, you've changed my life, and I don't feel alone, and I know what to do.
And that is a wonderful thing. And this is what everybody should be feeling. You know, that's the whole point of what we're doing. So a MenoHealth session is normally half an hour long, because we know everybody's time poor and it's got to fit into the working day. We can do this often at lunchtime, so you can be sitting eating your sandwich and listening in. But we work with each company to do what's right for them. Some want this at coffee breaks, some want it late in the day, some have international collections, and it needs to be in an evening. But we do a different topic, talking about things that are really relevant, so we can delve into HRT, all busting those myths, weight gain, you know, where's my waist gone, looking at brain fog and practical ways that you can try and help yourself in the workplace. And we also have breakout room sessions where you can actually get together and talk in a really safe space. And that is what makes it unique. It isn't just about us telling you, it's about us listening to you and responding, and being able for you to listen to each other in your specific workplace and get the support that you think you need. Within that half-hour session, we do a little bit of exercise, as Ali has mentioned. Now, there's a few reasons for this, because one of the silent symptoms of menopause is osteoporosis, thinning of the bones. So half of all women over 50 will have osteoporosis. And the amount of people that don't know about this, and it only becomes apparent when they've had a fracture, is really astonishing. So we're looking at ways that we could improve your bone health through nutrition and also doing some exercise. But the real range of exercises that we can do are simple things, literally, you can do at your desk. There's a great one with a resistance ball or even a cushion that you pop between your thighs, and you can be sitting right now on a Zoom, squeezing and toning up your thighs, and nobody would even know, but it's putting back in this movement. Movement is medicine during menopause. But more importantly, it's about how you feel. One of the ways that you can help yourself, and in fact, there's just been some research done at Loughborough University to show that they prescribed exercise to some women for 6 months. And it showed improvements in reducing their hot flushes and night sweats. It improved their sleep pattern markedly, but it also really improved their mental well-being, their psychological feeling. And one of the things that happens when we move is that we start to release some happy hormones you've all heard about, you know, or endorphins from exercise. But actually, again, recent research has found by doing some resistance training, that's just some strength work. You can use bags of sugar lifting, as if you haven't got any dumbbells, press ups in the kitchen, like Ali mentioned, against the work surface, things you can do at your desk. Then what you're doing here is releasing these chemicals that are actually endocannabinoids. So you're getting your own, nature's own cannabis. That's your legal high. Move more, feel better. That will help with balance, and that will help with all your menopause symptoms. So that's why we try and get you moving. So I think it's time to do a little bit of that now. So I'm going to make sure that you can see me as I step away. And then Ali, if you want to, you can disappear or you can stay on and join in with me. But you don't need any.
See me do it, but I will do it with you today. But I'm going to go off camera.
I believe you, and all of you.
You do.
Brilliant. It is literally less than 5 minutes. We're just going to do a very gentle, soft exercise routine. A third of people stop exercising during menopause. And we really, really need to improve how much we move. And just by doing this, if you've got aches and pains and stiffness, it's going to alleviate them. So you don't need anything. You don't need a sports bra. You don't even need trainers for this one. Just move with me. Okay? Here we go. Okay. So. Right, so all we're going to do is just start to be conscious of our body and start with the shoulders, rolling them round and back. Now we can get a lot of stress and tension through the shoulders, particularly if you sit at a desk and you're working with a computer. So that rolling the shoulders, now slow it down and squeeze your shoulder blades in as you go back. Really start to open up the chest. If we can improve our breathing, we'll improve our brains and we'll refresh ourselves too. Now just bring your shoulders up and feel tension, relax and lower. Turn your head slowly side to side, and that will really show if you've got some tension in these muscles here. Now circling your elbows, and then if you can, start taking that into a wider action with arms going round and back to work through the shoulders. And then what we're going to do here is start leaning to the side and really feel that stretch through your back. We get a lot of chronic tightness through sitting at a desk, particularly with your neck and your back, all of your spine. And just, you could do this in a chair. It's just leaning side to side. It takes moments, but if you do these little things, they add up to make a big difference. Now, arms here, and then loosen the fingers and just turn to the side and back and turn. And just try to bring those shoulders down and back as you turn. If any of these actions are uncomfortable, then just leave them. And then lower the arms and start a gentle twist. So this is very much like a Qigong action. That's Chinese medicine, where we're really letting the action of the arms swinging as they tap against your side. You are actually giving yourself a massage, and it helps with the lymphatic system and circulation. Take your head too, side to side as you tap. And you can do any of these actions for a few moments, or you could do a mini routine, maybe when you wake up in the morning, or if you need a break in the afternoon and you've just got a few minutes between Zoom calls or whatever you're doing, just to give yourself a few moments to rest your brain. Thinking of your legs now, we're going to just bend your knees slightly and then lift up onto the balls of the feet, so heel raises, and then let your arms go down, and this time as you lift up, stretch. And so you're working all of the big muscles through your glutes, thighs, right the way up now, all through your core. Try and bring your belly button in so your core is engaged. Really starting to feel that, and it's still nice and easy and gentle. And then we're going to turn those wrists and one foot, so you've got to have a bit of balance there. Wrists and ankles. Wrists, ankles, knees. This is where a lot of us will feel those aches and pains. And now we're just going to just bring up bend the knee, bring your heel up towards your bottom, and you'll feel the knees working. And then we're going to take a big fluent action as if you're holding a ball, and you take it as low as you can, as far to the side as you can, and as high as you can as you reach round. If you're in a big shared office, hopefully you can get everybody else to join in with this. Let's go the other way. And you won't believe that just starting these actions can make a huge difference to how you feel. Take a big breath in and out. And again, and out. So literally a few moments of your working day can be given back to doing a little bit of gentle movement. And what we're trying to do here is reduce inflammation, because when you sit still for long periods of time, or you just don't feel like moving, then you're starting to release those chemicals into the blood that can cause inflammation. That is what leads on to heart problems, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, some cancers, you name it, and why we really need to make sure we're moving now through menopause so that our future life, which can be 30, 40 years, is as healthy as it could be. Okay. So let's come back now. Did you join in a little, Ali?
I did, absolutely. I most certainly did. I needed that, to be honest. I've been sat down all morning, so it was good just to get some movement in there.
It's so easy to be sitting still, isn't it? And that's the problem. And even if we're doing what we like to make sure we're teaching pelvic floor exercises as well. So even if you're sitting there, nobody knows you're doing them, we can actually exercise our pelvic floor. And if nothing else, that's going to be valuable as well. Oh, I'm great, Kat. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So we've got a few minutes now for any of your questions. If you want to pop anything into the chat box. And we will be following up with information and looking at a symptom checker. And, you know, we need to help you find a menopause doctor. Things like that are really, really important.
I know one of the things that we found really useful was having the fact sheets that come out with each session, just because I think sometimes you just need to go back, don't you? You have that brain fog moment and you think, I'm sure I heard that, but I can't remember what was said. So just having those fact sheets that follow up each session really support that, and obviously gives you those links, because you know, I can see a couple in the chat where it's like, oh, where was this and what was that was said. So having those just on something you can either put on your intranet so people can access it anytime, or you can email it out if you've got a group, or if you know, however you choose to sort of share that. So those are really useful. And also just those recordings of those 5-minute exercises. Again, you know, it's great today, but probably in about an hour and a half, I won't remember everything that you just said about that. So being able to go back and re-watch those certainly sort of helps people. And for those that can't always make the session when you've got them planned in, you know, being able to just have a read of the fact sheet, maybe just look at the exercises and have a go at them on their own, or a bit later in the day, or maybe in the evening when they're at home and they perhaps feel more comfortable doing it, then that really helps support the sessions. So it's not just the session, is it? It's the bits that we share around that we find also we get good feedback from.
Definitely. And that's where those links can be very valuable. If you put something into a Google search, you can just be overwhelmed with, well, where do I go to find this help? And, you know, not everything is evidence-based. So wherever we can, we share information from the Women's Health Concern, which is the patient arm of the British Menopause Society, and also help you be able to start your own forum and support groups in the workplace, so that you'll have this to get you going. But, you know, after that 10-week program, it doesn't stop there. It's making sure that you keep the conversation going. And if you've got the tools to do that, and you can access these fact sheets and exercise videos whenever you choose afterwards, then that makes it very helpful and convenient too.
It does. Because we're only here to provide that information, isn't it? We're not going to prescribe anything, we're not going to recommend anything, and obviously we always say that when, quite often we'll get onto a topic and the chat just goes mad, doesn't it, with lots of people just, oh, I've tried this and I've done this and I buy it from there, and and that's absolutely great, but as we always say, this is just about sharing what works for one person isn't going to work for the other person, but actually knowing that you're not alone, and seeing what other people have done just gives you some ideas. So those links, are from recommended places where you can get that accurate information, because as you say, you can Google it and it just goes berserk, and you think, well, I don't even know where to start to read and understand that. So the links that we share are from recommended sources.
Absolutely. And some really great experts in their area, whether that's nutrition or urinary tract infections or bone health, sleep problems. The Sleep Clinic have written blogs for us. Migraine and Headache Charity, they've written blogs for us. So you can head on over to the website as well. They're free to access for everyone. And I've seen a question on pelvic floor exercises. We have actually got a video on our YouTube channel, which is totally free for everybody to go. And you can listen to that and have a go about, well, where do you find those muscles and how can you make sure you're doing the right ones? So that's easy for you to be able to have a little look. Go to our website and click on the link that will take you straight to our YouTube page as well. And also, I see there's a question here about, we're going to be sending out the, there's other things on YouTube as well that you'll be able to see for some exercises, but we will be sending out the recording of the session in case you want that particular exercise routine. And that's great. Thank you, Beth, for adding those on here. Information for male colleagues, that's a good one, Ali, because how have you found that? Because it isn't just about women, is it? Menopause affects everyone.
So it is absolutely, I mean, it does affect everybody, and obviously just half of the population firsthand at some point. So supporting male colleagues, and absolutely they're welcome to come along. So certainly the sessions that we run, we never say it's only females, it's like you have to be menopausal. It can be absolutely anybody. And we, in some of the sessions I've run, since working with you, Julie, where I've actually had a young, I say young lad, that sounds, but a young man turn up, and he just so wanted to help his mum that he came along to the session to learn a bit more and understand a little bit about the exercises, but also learn about the topic. I'll be honest, I think everybody wanted to adopt him because it was just like, I wish I had a son that was that understanding. But yeah, it's anybody who can come along, just because people just want to know a bit more. They can see it happening, maybe at home, they can see it happening in the office. Just want to understand what's happening and what's going on, and actually by knowing a bit more about it, they can have a better conversation, or perhaps be a little bit more tolerant when maybe the mood swings come, or somebody's really struggling with that hot flush, or they've just had a really bad night's sleep and they're just proper out of sorts the next day. So yeah, it's open to everybody, and we can we encourage everybody to come along. And in terms of that strategy in the workplace, these sessions form part of our overall strategy in the workplace. So this is just one part of that, support group, that information providing, that sort of health and well-being team work. So if you've got that health and well-being team and they're looking at nutrition, they're looking at exercise, actually by building these sessions in, that's where it will connect in. So yeah, I think if you're looking at that menopause strategy, then happily pick up with me offline, and I could talk you through some of the things that I've seen with other companies in terms of how to build out a menopause strategy. And for me at HSBC, this was one part of my strategy, along with other things that we did. And for some, they've got other things in place. They're quite happy, but what they really need to do is get that support group, and this just gives them that kickstart into bringing people together and talking about things like vaginal dryness that you just wouldn't talk about anywhere else at work.
Exactly right. Yeah, nothing's taboo, is it? So as we come to an end, we've Beth's put a link here because on the 4th of February, we're having another free event, but this is with a menopause doctor, Dr. Balfour, who is going to be able to come and talk about HRT. These are areas where there's always very specific questions that are medical that we wouldn't want to answer, but it'd be a great opportunity if you want to come and dip in and find a little bit more about menopause from a doctor's perspective, and that will guide you if you're having a conversation with your own GP as well. So yeah, that's a free event through Eventbrite, and we'll be sharing that with you as well afterwards. So thank you so much for joining us. We really have enjoyed seeing you, or at least not seeing you, but knowing you're there. We hope everyone's picked up just a little something to take away with them from today, and that this will help you carry on with or begin your conversation to be able to get menopause talked about and get the right support for you and your team. So we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. We'll drop you an email, and do get in touch if there's anything we can do to help you further.